Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the PWYFA Play We Repeat Our podcast. I'm your host Cameron Dobbs, and on today's episode I am joined by the wonderful William Saxton. Will is a collegiate baseball player formerly playing at Florida International University here in Miami and now plays at UCF, University of Central Florida in Orlando. His story of transferring but trusting the process, and of course trusting God through the process, is so inspirational, and I can't wait for you guys to hear our conversation all about it today. Now, before we get started, just a friendly reminder, make sure you are subscribed to the podcast here on YouTube, also following us on all social media platforms and more. We don't want you to miss a thing, whether it's book content, podcast updates, fun content, anything and everything Play We Repeat Our, we don't want you to miss it. And of course, merch. So make sure you're following us on all social media platforms. Enough intro though, let's get into it and let's meet Will. This is the PWYFA Play We Repeat Our podcast, and I'm your host, Cameron Dobbs.
What up?
What's up? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited to see your face. I haven't seen your face in so long, even if it's on a Zoom call. I'm so pumped to be talking with you today. No one knows, but we've already been talking for like 40 minutes on the call, just catching up with life. And it's been such a joy already, just figuring out where our lives are and talking and catching up again. So thank you for speaking with me today. And more importantly, thank you for joining the PWYFA Play We Repeat Our podcast.
Of course. No, I'm so happy to be here. I know when we first texted about this, I was absolutely let's do it. And I was so happy and excited for you when you got this up and rolling. So let's get it going.
Let's do it. I'm so excited too. And thank you again just for hopping on. But tell us, how are you? What's going on? What was your day like today?
It was good. It was really good. Obviously practice and classes and all that stuff. So everything's kind of rolling almost as we already get in the end of September, which is crazy to think about. Can't believe that October is going to be here. And then before we know, Thanksgiving and Christmas. So it's this year's rolling by. We're almost in 2022, but no, definitely just taking it day by day. And today was awesome.
I love it. I know this year has absolutely flown by. And the fact there are officially less than 100 days till Christmas. And that makes me so excited, but also so incredibly nervous out of my mind because I graduate in December, and that means like I'm almost done with school and it's just life is crazy right now. Absolutely. And your life is a little bit crazy right now just because like I'm starting my podcast, you're starting new things on your end as well. And this is actually the first year that you are playing baseball at UCF because, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think it's safe to say that about a year ago, you probably had no idea you would be playing at UCF because you were in fact down here in South Florida playing at Florida International University. So just tell me a little bit about the transfer process and everything, and we'll dive all through that. But let's actually, before we even get to transferring, let's take it all the way back. So tell me first about your journey to FIU as a collegiate baseball player. So I think it was maybe back in 2018 or 2017 for you. Mm-hmm. And before, what did it take and what led you to be an FIU baseball player?
It was definitely a crazy one for sure. Obviously nowadays recruiting processes start in freshman years of high school. They don't just start in junior, senior of high school. So definitely recruiting process and playing a lot of baseball in high school and travel ball, all that stuff definitely happened. I know for me, I never really wanted to go more than like farther north than like North Carolina, just because I'm a Florida boy, born and raised all my life in Orlando. So, the heat is definitely grown on me and gotten used to it. So definitely going down to Miami had something to do with that for sure. But yeah, just being born and raised in Florida, definitely just had my sights on a lot of Florida schools, Georgia schools, North Carolina, South Carolina, all that kind of stuff. And so going to FIU though, so one of my coaches that I used to train with actually ended up being a coach at FIU, and he was kind of one of my second fathers to me. He was, really, really good heart, really just great man of God, awesome guy. And we were always talking and stuff. And then he got the job at FIU. And so he was like, yo, let's do this. Like, come down and let's play together. I was like, heck yeah, let's do it. So that happened, and then just went down there and loved head coach Marvel Melendez, awesome guy. All the coaches were awesome. It just felt really at home, really felt like God put that on my heart just to go there and and it's like, you have a future here, and you can make an impact down here. And so let's do it. So yeah, that was definitely just kind of my recruiting process back in 2018, talking to other schools and whatnot, but just felt FIU was the one.
And I'm assuming it was, because you did stay at FIU. You played a
Mm-hmm.
couple years there. Tell me a little bit just about being a collegiate baseball player at FIU.
It was definitely good. It was definitely great. Loved it. Definitely don't have any regrets or, moves I'd rather make for sure. It was definitely one to remember for sure, and definitely feel like I grew a lot, and definitely took a lot of relationships from there that I'm gonna have for the rest of my life, 100%.
I love that. I love that. And, in January of 2020, I remember talking to you about your future plans because you were getting ready to kind of move on with life. You were
Mhm.
playing baseball at FIU, of course. And Lord willingly, you were hoping that following year, that summer, really, that you were going to get drafted and go pro. And so
Mhm.
you were talking about, plans to play pro. We were talking about your favorite pro teams and different things like that. And the excitement level was so, so high. You were going into this great season at FIU. And then 2 months later, none other than COVID enters the scene, and good old coronavirus pandemic comes on. And the world, of course, entered into a global pandemic. I don't think that's
Yeah.
breaking news for anyone here.
Yeah.
Um, but that clearly shifted, I mean, everyone in the entire world's agendas, but yours as well. And so just talk to us a little bit about how kind of COVID came into play into your future career, and walk me through that season for you.
Yeah, I mean, anyone you talk to will tell you, just they'll always remember where they were when they found out their season was canceled, or their just anything was canceled, whatever, because you just didn't know what to think of it. You never had your parents or anyone go through that. You've had your grandparent, like no one you knew has really been like, oh yeah, this is what you do here. It wasn't like that. So it was definitely crazy. Just still, I'll never forget where I was. We're in the locker room, we got told, and we actually were on the bus, literally on the bus to fly, to go drive to Fort Lauderdale to go to Southern Miss to play our first conference weekend. We were so excited. We were doing really good, 10-5, doing really good. Everyone was excited, and we got told, and our coach was late. And now that was like, wait, that's not right. Our coach is never late for anything. So we knew something was up, and then obviously got told to get off the bus and all this stuff. And just yeah, definitely just crazy. I think for me, just going through that process was just like what we're talking about, playing where your feet are. There's a quote that I love. It's called, "The greater the cost, the more I'll believe for." And I think that just goes where, like, everything that happens in our life, like there's going to be struggles, there's going to be hardships, there's going to be those times that, where just things aren't easy. But that's where I feel like in the end, like going through that stuff, you get so much stronger, so much growth through that. And I think that's just what, obviously you didn't want this to happen to anyone. I mean, I didn't want it to happen to our team, anyone else's team, because it happened to everybody. But I think just the more you sacrifice, the more you work harder for something, and the closer and more fulfilling it will become. And that's what Jesus did. And like when he worked hard in everything he did, and that's how he touched so many lives. I mean, Jesus never sleeps, never sits around waiting for something. He's always doing something. He's doing something in your life, the person next to you life, your best friend's life, your parents' life, everyone's life. And I think that's just really cool to realize, because, he's just always moving, he's always working. And even in the midst of like that situation of COVID, it was like, wow, like you just felt like everything shut down, like your body was shut down for a minute. And it's just like, no, like there's growth in this. There's so much beautifulness through this, even though it's just a tough time right now.
Most definitely. And you said one thing in there that I absolutely loved, and it was Jesus never sleeps.
Mhm.
And that's like, you got to put that on a sweatshirt or a t-shirt or a
Yeah.
bumper sticker or something, because that's so good. Jesus never
Uh-huh.
sleeps. And I think that, maybe taking it more figuratively, of course, I think that is such a good aspect too to bring in with play where your feet are, because
Mhm.
playing where your feet are is about being intentional in every single moment you're in. And whether that is even, maybe it is sleeping, maybe it is being intentional with your rest, but it's always being intentional. It's never
Mhm.
wasting a moment. It's doing your best and being your best, no matter what, no matter where, and wherever your feet are. And so I think during this pandemic, as don't get me wrong, as terrible as this pandemic was, and as unfortunate it was for so many lives, so many families who didn't have the care that maybe all of us did, or maybe did and lost loved ones. I lost my grandmother during the pandemic. And so I know how terrible this was, but at the same time, it was a chance for us to really realize how intentional we can be with our time and learn how to play where our feet are when our feet are confined, when we're literally in quarantine, like when we have to learn how to play in small spaces, but still make a big impact. And so talk to me about training during that season, because you know, I don't know every detail of that season for you, but I'm assuming you weren't just like a couch potato and forgot about baseball and just threw it all out the window and said, woe is me, I'm not going to get drafted right now, so forget it. You know, no, you played where your feet were, you continued training. So just talk to me about that training process during quarantine.
Yeah, it was definitely a good one. It felt like, you know, obviously definitely had a lot more time on our hands, but the first thing I did as soon as, I think that was that Thursday and they canceled, I think I was home that Monday. First thing I did was call up my strength coach from back home, was like, yo, let's get after it. Like, I sat around for maybe like half a day and I was like, all right, like I'm not doing this. I gotta get after it. I gotta work. I gotta train. And he was like, absolutely, let's do it. So I remember that first Monday we were there training, and it was just me. We were outside inside his facility and everything, making it work. You know, with the rules and regulations, everything like that. And then after about a month or two, my buddy, really good friend, Logan Allen, and he's also from Orlando. He's now with the Cleveland Indians right now. Me and him just, our coach back at FIU got us in touch with another strength coach that's up in Longwood area, a little farther north than Orlando. And he trained us. It was just us two and him. And we just got after it for months, the whole summer and everything, and really just got after it. So yeah, it was, thankfully it was good to get some, you know, not just doing body weight and stuff all the time. We were able to get in gyms and stuff. So I was thankful for that for sure.
And, you know, COVID happened and you turned into this kind of extra training season in a way of just doing what you could. And again, playing where your feet are during this adversity that's coming at you from all different angles. So during this time, when did you realize that, okay, I'm probably not going to get drafted this year, my plans have to shift a little? When did that mindset and perspective change come in?
Yeah, because the big thing with MLB draft is that it's usually 40 rounds, and then that year is cut to 5. And so it was definitely not easy to swallow after those 5 rounds were up. And obviously you didn't hear your name called. It was definitely hard to swallow for sure. And but you know, it was just, you know, just the growth mindset of, you know what, all right, sounds good, let's go get after it now and do everything I can to be great. Because obviously for me, like in that time, there's another quote that I love. It's not the voice that you hear that determines the life you end up with, it's the voice that you believe. And when I think of that, I'm like, dang, like obviously after that, it's like, wow, like you didn't get drafted again, or like you didn't get drafted, like are you even gonna make it? And that's not the voice that I want to believe. That's not the voice that I know. So I know that the voice that I do know is that no, I am going to get drafted. There are better things that are in store, and there's better things that I'm going to go and attack for and go do. And so that's just the mindset that I had going after that, because obviously, you know, still the hope that you know, that's part of my plan. So.
Of course. I love how you said that too, bringing in the voices in your head as well, because there's actually scripture in the Bible that I love so much. And it's in John 7. And I think it's a parable that Jesus is saying, and it's talking about how sheep run away from strange voices, but when they hear their shepherd's voice, they immediately follow. And I think that's so good, because if we would just take that into account, and whenever we hear those quote unquote strange voices of doubt, of comparison, of society, of whatever they're saying and attacking our mindset and our spirit and our joy, you know, they say comparison is the thief of joy. There we go. Comparison is the thief of joy. And so if it's just turning away from those voices and running to the one that you know, that can help you so much. And it sounds like that helped you so much. And just being able to be like, okay, now is not my time, but that's not an indefinite answer, you know, like I still got more work to do and I can still make this happen. And so I always say this too, it's not stay where your feet are, it's play where your feet are.
Exactly.
So you weren't going to stay where your feet are as I hope this isn't harsh, but as someone who's undrafted, you
Mhm.
were going to play where your feet are as someone who has the potential to still be drafted and
Yeah.
still make your dreams come true and still accomplish more and more and more, because also God is an Ephesians 3:20 God, and he will do more than you could ever imagine.
Mhm.
And so you knew right when that happened, maybe you had a little pity party. Not sure. Maybe, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sure, like you said, it was a tough pill to swallow,
Yeah.
but you knew, okay, this happened. Yes. Let's start grinding. Let's play where my feet are. Let's continue working harder. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to do
Yeah.
it no matter what, and no matter where.
Mhm.
I love that.
Yeah. And I think you hit it spot on too. You just talk about how when what Jesus was saying about, when you hear my voice, like I'll go. And I think that's just so huge, like, because Jesus knows you inside and out. Like there's no ifs, ands, ors, but about it. Like he knows you, or he created you. And I think that's just so important for everyone to understand that, like, no matter what kind of season you're in, like he knows what you need. And I feel like that's where you just got to reach out to him and just go to him and run to him with just full faith, not half faith, not still winding around trying to figure out if it's the right way. Like, no, just running him full on, full go. And I think that's important just for everyone to realize.
Yeah, it's so good. And it's funny you bring that up too, because I typically every year, I don't necessarily have like New Year's resolutions,
Hmm.
but I do try to have like a word of the year, something that
Hmm.
I'm just intentional on. In fact, one in the years past, one of them was intentional.
Hmm.
One was focus. And I actually have them literally, I can stare at them on my mirror right here. So I had 2017 was impact, 2018 was platform, 2019 was bold faith, 2020 was focus, and now 2021 is go. And you mentioned that word go, and that's been my word every single day of this year, because I knew going into 21 for Cameron Dobbs, it was going to be a big year, and I was
Yeah.
going to make it a big year because I was finishing my master's, I was getting into internships, I'm applying for jobs, I'm coaching again, I'm doing this podcast, I have more surprises in the back of my, up my sleeve here about
You're just going,
PWYFA.
going, and going.
Exactly. And so I knew that every time something came up, that every time I thought, oh, I should start a podcast, how fun would that be? And then thinking, oh my goodness, but who's going to listen to my podcast? And in reality, like, there are so many podcasts. Why would someone pick mine over someone who did X, Y, and Z? Every time I had one of those strange voices, hearing that again, every time I had one of those self-doubt moments or anything, I decided, nope, I'm just going to go. I'm going to go with bold faith and blind faith. And I'm going to, like you said, just run towards God without hesitation. That I'm just going to go no matter what. I'm going to step out in faith. I'm going to forget about what society is saying or what those voices of fear, what those strange voices are saying. And I'm going to run to the one I know, because he knows me best. And I know that what his plans are for me are much bigger than my plans are for me, and much bigger than what society may say about me as well. And so you knew that as well, because again, you knew that just because it was a not yet, your future still had big things to come, and the best was still to come. So yes, you grinded through quarantine. You worked with your buddies. You worked with your strength coach. You kept working out. You kept training. You got better. You played where your feet were, and you weren't done. You weren't done nearly at all. And so you had more left in you, and you had more college baseball left in you, which that brought you to then transfer from a Panther to a Knight. So you are now at UCF, as we have covered. You left FIU, transferred to UCF. So tell us a little bit just about that transferring process.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy kind of going into the transfer process for sure. It was definitely kind of all over the place for sure. I think the biggest thing for me was that it was just really cool. Because the thing is about Orlando is that there's not a minor league team. I mean, yes, there's the Orlando Magic and Orlando City Soccer and Orlando City Pride, the girls and guys team for Orlando City for soccer, which is so awesome. But if you think about Orlando, like, there's no football team, there's no baseball team, there's no hockey team. And so what's really cool is, like, minor league baseball and Major League Baseball being such a big thing and widespread, and Orlando not having that. I think it was really cool, like, looking at like UCF as like Orlando's hometown team. And that's kind of what they talk about over here. And it was just really cool, like, obviously being like, because I grew up in Winter Park, Florida, to be specific, not like obviously in Orlando, but right in Winter Park, which is right outside downtown. and being UCF being 20 minutes away from there, I think it was just really, really cool to be like, wow, like I have an opportunity to go play in like my hometown and like do something really, really cool at my hometown. And just kind of realizing that, and like obviously just being so close to my family that they just have sacrificed so much for me, and they have been just the biggest blessings in my life, my parents and my brother and sister, and they just have done so much for me that it was just really cool to be like, wow, I can be back home, with them a lot more and playing and being around my friends and family that I grew up with when I was born. So that's just what's really cool. Just 'cause I have a lot of good relationships with a lot of awesome people in Orlando, and I love it here. I really love it here, and I just thought that God just put in my heart, like, this is where your feet are gonna play now. This is where your feet are gonna play right now. You're gonna go here this next year. You're gonna have a great year, and it's gonna be awesome. And you're gonna do everything you can to make impact in the city of Orlando and do some really, really awesome things. So.
Yes, and you got a big smile on your face while you're saying it. So I can tell everyone on the podcast who's listening, he's definitely being genuine about this, because he can't hide the smile about being back home with his family and playing for his hometown, like you said.
Mhm.
That's so
Mhm.
cool, and I'm so glad that you're happy. But
Mhm.
I also know that during that time, I mean, you mentioned that it being a little crazy of transferring, and not to mention transferring during a pandemic had its difficulties, I'm sure.
Mhm.
And that entire year, I mean, 2020 and still going a little bit into 2021, there was a lot of uncertainty. And for you specifically, there was a lot of uncertainty. The moment you got that call or notification when you were on the bus and your buses had to turn around and you weren't going to go to Southern Miss, you were going back to FIU, and then
Mhm.
you were going home in like 3 days. It was a lot of uncertainty for
I
you,
know.
as for, again, everyone in the world. And so as we all face this uncertainty, as you face this uncertainty in the past year, how did you manage to remain confident in Christ during this time?
I think the biggest thing is actually I got it on we get customized gloves this year, and I got it on my glove this year.
Casual.
Joshua 1:9 says, "Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." And I just think that verse just hits me so hard. I love the word of God is amazing. I love reading it. It is so powerful. And but that verse just like, gosh, it's in my head almost all the time. And I just love it because it's just like God has his commandments. He has his ways of working in us. And it's like, have I not commanded you? Like, be strong and courageous. Like he's telling us like I'm with you. Like, how can you not be strong and courageous? Like, how can you not have that full faith and full belief? So that just really, really kind of, backs up the shoulders and stand up straight when you just remind yourself of that. And so I feel like remaining my confidence in Christ during any time is easy, when I think of that verse, just gives me a lot of confidence through that. So I don't really think I ever really got down in any moments like that, just because I know Christ is in full control and in full swing of what he wants to do. And whether it's a good time or a bad time, like I know at the end of the day, like I know who reigns on top, and that's him. And it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good no matter what, because he's working in it. So
Amen. I hope you guys are snapping or clapping or taking notes or something, because everything Will is saying is just so on point right now and so good. If you are not taking notes up to this point, I pray that you continue taking notes from here on out, because we still got some good stuff to talk about. But that was so good. And it's funny you mentioned that too, because I was actually, I told Will today I was recording another podcast today. And I'm not sure if I'm spoiling this at the point where it's not released yet, or maybe this podcast episode has already come out. But I was talking with Brittany Gonzalez, who is a former Olympic athlete. She's a former Olympic diver. And we mentioned just briefly in our conversation about mental health and how mental health can be affected with student athletes, but how when God comes into the equation, he just makes everything so much better as an athlete as well. And just talking about how tying in God to your sport makes you such a better competitor, because Victoria Garrick, who's one of my biggest role models, always talks about the hidden opponent, and that is mental health, the hidden opponent of the one you face in sports. And also it goes back again, referencing these voices we talked about, that those voices are the hidden opponent. It's not, an injury to your arm that you see. It's the hidden opponent of what you have going on in your mind. And we were talking about how God it's not the hidden opponent. God is like the secret weapon. And so I loved how you said, when God is behind, you can pop your shoulders back, like you can walk confidently because God is with you and he is in control. And it almost gave me that imagery of, you see it in movies and cartoons, and who knows if I'm going to butcher even like the imagery of this, but it's like you imagine, seeing a little tiny chihuahua go out and wanting to have this big roar of a bark, but then you have a Great Dane come stand behind him in the shadow, and the Great Dane is really the one that scares the other animals off, the one that really is the intimidating one. But this little tiny chihuahua is the one that's sitting in front. And so I think that's a little bit how God is sometimes. We as humans, we may not be able to have this big, strong force or impact as ourselves, but then when we have God standing behind us, he is the intimidator. He is the one that gives us the power, the strength to do tough things and to succeed at tough things as well. So yes, be strong and courageous because God is with you and he will fight for you. And God has an army of angels that will literally support you in anything and everything that you do. And so walk with that confidence, pop your shoulders back, walk proudly because God is with you. He's got you, and he is certainly in control. Talking more just, about that whole entire season of transferring and trusting the process. You were always playing where your feet are, no matter what, no matter where. Every single moment. At least that's what I have been able to observe. Whether you had those words repeating in your mind or not, you were truly being an example of playing where your feet are. So after just thinking back on this transferring and trusting the process story of yours, what does play where your feet are really mean to you?
For me, playing where your feet are definitely means just like where you are in a game, in a situation, like just almost for me, like I like looking down where my feet are, like maybe something happens in a game that doesn't go my way or anything like that. I just almost look down at my feet, be like, this is where I am. What happened, happened. What's going to happen is going to happen. I can worry about that later. But right now, where my feet are is the only thing that I can control. It is the only thing that I can possibly do something about. I cannot take back the pitch I just thrown. I can't rewind it and take the ball back and say, oh, no, I didn't throw that pitch. Everyone, timeout. That didn't happen. I can't do that.
You can't do that in baseball?
Yeah. So you can't do that. So there's just, I sometimes just look at my feet and be like, I'm here right now. What I'm about to do is what I have to attack and what I have to go do. And I feel like for me, a big story, and it's so funny because obviously play where your feet are, people have heard before, but when you bring a uniqueness like you have brought to with this podcast, it just brings up stories that have happened to me and, in my life and stuff. And I feel like for me, just what's happened when I was a little kid was that I had a best friend. His name was Addison Toole, and we did, everything together. Up till I was 5, 6, 7 years old, we did everything together. We lived in the same neighborhood. He lived 4 houses down from me. We did everything together. And sad story. He ended up passing away with cancer when he was 7 years old or 8 years old. And I remember just thinking, being that young, I was like, wait, what? Like, I don't understand. Like, I would go back home and I would be like, oh, let's go hang out, whatever. And I didn't comprehend it. It didn't make sense to me. So I feel like for me, like I still think about that every day. I'm just like, I would probably still be friends with that kid today. That kid Addison, I would still be friends with because I still know his brother. I still know his family. And I would still be friends with that kid. And I just look at that and being like, how can something so sad happen in that situation and I not take where my feet are right now, where they are in each step of every day? How can I not go as hard as I possibly can and do everything I possibly can to do what he wasn't able to do? Because I know for him, though, what a blessing it is for him to be in heaven right now, what it is a blessing to be with God and with Jesus right now. That is incredible to think about. That is so cool. That is awesome to believe that we get to be there one day, like to just experience just be with Jesus and God full time in heaven. And it's amazing to see how even at that such young age, he's there. But with this time on earth, we still have purpose and we have, stuff we got to do that God's called us to do. And I just feel like for me, when just understanding that at such a young age, I was just like, it just didn't make sense to me. And then I just realized after every single day after that, I was just like, where my feet are right now, I'm standing, I have 2 legs, I have 2 arms. how can I not do everything I possibly can to go 100% in every single thing I do? So I feel like for me, just when I think about playing where your feet are, I think of that story a lot, just because it just keeps me going and it makes me want to have such an impact on so many people's lives, realizing that God has blessed them with so much and gave them so many gifts that they have so much opportunity to go do so many great things in this life.
Yeah, amen. That's such a touching story. And I appreciate you for sharing it with us. Because that is sad, and it made me a little emotional too, even just hearing about it. But just the way you've turned it to really inspire you daily is inspiring to me to hear, and I'm sure inspiring to everyone else to hear as well. And my favorite Bible verse in the entire Bible says, "This is the day the Lord has made. I shall be glad and rejoice in it."
Mm-hmm.
And if anyone knows me, you probably know that I'm a pretty joyful person and I'm a pretty positive person. I'm typically smiling like all the time. And it's a lot because of that verse, because I look at it like you look at it, like every single day is an opportunity. And it's an opportunity to respond with love, to respond with life, to show the love of Christ, to show other people Jesus, to just be kind to someone, to be nice to someone, to make other people smile, to enjoy yourself, like whatever it may be. Every single day is a new day to live a life full of living. And it's just another opportunity to rejoice, because it is, like you said, it's another day that we are blessed to have. We are not guaranteed every single day. And every single day that we get, it's another day to rejoice and to make the most out of it, and to play where our feet are, and to do the best wherever our feet are in the moment, and just to be able to live well. And like Jesus says in the Bible, if you have faith through Christ, you can live abundant lives. And so every single day is just a day to live abundantly and to make an impact, like you said as well. You strive every day to make an impact. And I believe you do that really well, because I have been able to just see you work through FIU, and now you're at UCF. And the past couple of days, even we've been talking about FCA, and just the impact you make, not only on the baseball field, but off the baseball field too, is so inspiring, because you don't only play where your feet are as a college athlete, or as an athlete or a baseball player in that realm as well, but you also play where your feet are as a Christian collegiate athlete specifically. And like I said, that's one of the biggest reasons why I admire you so much, is because you are such a light. We talked about going and having bold faith and blind faith. And I think to everyone you come into contact with, everyone who knows you can probably attest to your faith and your Christian principles and your Christian background, because you are so vocal with everything that you believe. You were just mentioning you get a customized glove and you chose to put a Bible verse on it. Like, how cool is that? I bet you not every single one of your teammates took the opportunity of getting this customized glove and making sure it had a Bible verse on it. So I think that's pretty cool. But again, even how we met in church. We met at Metro Life Church in Miami. And shout out Metro Life Church. I love Metro Life Church here in Miami. And yes, exactly. And even again,
Chris?
Chris, if you're listening, shout out to Chris. Chris Alessi, by the way, is our pastor at Metro, or one of our pastors at Metro. So shout out to Chris and the whole Alessi family. You guys are bomb. You guys might have to come onto a podcast too. So stay tuned for that. But seriously, whether it was church, whether it was FCA at Miami. Yeah, that's me, not you. FCA at FIU, literally wherever you were. You helped me with Operation Christmas Child. You got FIU to do like 200 boxes 2 years in a row. And if you guys don't know what Operation Christmas Child is, that's basically giving these gifts and toys to kids around the world who are likely receiving their Christmas gift for the first time, possibly ever in their entire lives. And then even more than it being this super special gift, it's more than a gift, because Operation Christmas Child under Samaritan's Purse also teaches them the gospel. So again, Will is not only impacting FIU, even UM and the surrounding community, or Metro Life Church, or Orlando, but he's also impacting the world. You went to Passion Conference, and again, you're always posting scripture. You're always talking about faith. You're very vocal about your spirituality and how God has just been a constant in your life. And even, I've done my little research for this podcast. I know you've even worked with a couple Christian clothing brands as well. Shout out Name, Image, and Likeness, New Rules, AO. But seriously, even on and off the field, you are still playing where your feet are by representing your faith in every single area. So I just want to ask you, whether it's, we have listeners who might be other college athletes or younger athletes or whoever they are, and you find a way to incorporate your faith in your sport and in your daily life, not just when you're at church, not just when you're at FCA, not just when you're doing Operation Christmas Child, you're incorporating your faith into every single day life. And so what motivates you to do that? I mean, on a daily basis in these public places, whether it be on social media or on your team or on your customized glove, what motivates you to be so vocal about your faith?
I think for me, just, I mean, definitely my parents bringing me up in the church stuff really helped that foundation for sure. I mean, there's many stories in the Bible that I look to, just for looking at foundation. I know Matthew chapter 7, it talks about a great one. It talks about, it's the meaning of the parable with the wise and foolish builders, and it's where Jesus is talking to his people and talking about how, don't be a wise builder and build on brick and stone. Don't be a foolish builder and build your foundation on sand, where water and anything that comes about it is going to wash it away. Build it on something that's strong and has a great foundation. And I think that comes, just all like from who you are, what you listen to, what you read, what you believe, and also who you surround yourself with. I think putting yourself around, people that are encouraging you, lifting you up, are going to tell you if you're doing something wrong, are going to hold you accountable truthfully. And I think that's just so huge, and just how I kind of, keep that strong foundation, because, that's just what you got to do, because, God calls us to be, strong and courageous. And we have to do that every day. It can't just be little simple acts on and off. So, and then also I think too, your life moves in the direction of your strongest thoughts. That's something that I heard from a pastor, and just thought it was so good, because if you think about it, your life moves in the direction of your strongest thoughts. And then the other follow-up question is, so are you happy about where your thoughts are taking you? What you're thinking about every day, when you wake up and you're thinking about something, you are eating lunch and you're thinking about something, when you're going to sleep or you're having dinner, you think about something, are you happy about what you're thinking about? And if not, I feel like that's where you got to turn to God and be like, God, like, what do you have for me? Because he's going to reveal it to you. He's going to show you that when you lay it out to him, and just be like, God, like, I need you to show me what you have for me, because I don't know. And that's part of, I feel like having that foundation is being like, I don't have it figured out. We don't have it figured out. We have our plans for tomorrow, for practice, or for the next week or the next month, or we're excited for the first opening day of February, but we don't know what could hold next week or tomorrow. And I feel like that's where our foundation's built, and just believing in God and believing in Jesus, and knowing that, that's our foundation, and wherever he directs us, like, that's where we're going to go. So yeah.
That's so good. Again, you guys better be writing down all of these notes from what Will is saying, because this is all so good. I'm just thankful that it's recorded, so I can go back and listen to it over and over again. And as I edit this, I'll be sure to like suck in all of this wonderful wisdom, because it is so good. But Will, I want to, as we kind of start wrapping up this podcast a little bit, I want to actually read to you your own words. This is one of your Instagram captions, because like I said, he is always posting great stuff on Instagram about faith and just God, and whether it's sharing other sermons or things, or like this is sharing his own words. It's really good. And so you posted this. I don't actually have the date. It's a screenshot, so I didn't screenshot the date. That's my bad there. But on the post, you started off, and again, I'm just going to read this, but it says faith in all caps. And I believe this was about the time you probably got the call that FIU baseball season was over.
Yeah.
It was done. And you wrote this caption, so I can imagine it was probably in a time of Lord knows what's about to happen, and no one even knows what this whole COVID thing is, and we're dealing with it now, and basically life is very uncertain. So you write this, you write faith, all caps, period. Our future in this life is not certain, and tomorrow is never promised, but we know who holds our future. Faith is so amazing, because there are so many times where our faith is tested. We either grow in our faith or we stay still where it's at. There are times where we find it hard to grow in faith for what we believe in because of the circumstances that surround us. That is where faith is such a gift. Faith is all you need to believe in. No matter what, everything happens for a reason. Whatever God's purpose is for you, go chase it with full faith. If you don't know what your purpose is, then go with your passions and God will direct you. Full faith will create forever change and allowing your faith to never waver because you believe. That is so good. I don't know if you realized how good that caption was when you wrote that or when you posted it. But guys, that is so, so good. We just spent this whole podcast talking about trusting God through the uncertainty and about playing where your feet are. And you literally just say, we either grow in our faith or we stay still in where it's at. Like I said, it's not stay where your feet are, it's play where your feet are. Because the moments that you're in this moment right now, you can take this space that your feet are occupying. And if you play where your feet are right here, it can lead you to 10 steps further in the future. So playing where your feet are allows you to move forward. Staying where your feet are keeps you where you're at. And no one wants to just stay where we're at. We want to always be progressing, always moving forward. So Will, shout out to that whole caption, because that was so good. Again, another great thing that I love from that. And guys, this was like a year ago, and how relevant is it still as we look back at this? Whatever God's purpose is for you, go chase it with full faith. If you don't know what your purpose is, then go with your passions and God will direct you. Well, any thoughts on your words that you said a year ago? Because I'm still just in awe.
No, I just think, obviously the wisdom and understanding I've gained from, Metro Life Church, the church I've grown up in, Action Church, where I go here now in Orlando. I'm just so thankful for the churches and guidance that, they've been able to give me. Obviously, Metro Life Church was where I was baptized again after I gave my life to Jesus back in July of 2016. And so it was really cool to experience that with Metro Life Church and just having that be a part. But no, I think that just those words are just from my heart. And, those words are just God put on my heart and, and continues to put on my heart just to, keep believing that. And I think for everyone else to believe, just because it's so important just to understand that, because if there weren't the valleys and we were just on top of the mountains all the time, then a lot of people would be doing great in everything. So it's just part of being here, how we are on this earth and everything, and just going through those valleys and coming out on top of them in the end, because that we have to go through that kind of stuff to really grow and really make that forever change that this has always kind of been close to me, that thought of forever change, that just whether it's a small conversation you talk to at a person you're standing in line with at a restaurant or in line wherever, or you're making that forever change, building a foundation or baseball fields or creating teams and all this stuff and building schools for children and building presence and all this stuff that I just aspire to do, is just, it all can happen with that forever change and that forever impactful change.
So good. I love that. Forever change. That's such a good mantra to have as well. In addition to play where your feet are, of course. But no, seriously, so good. Any last words on just advice for others who are now probably listening to this podcast and thinking, oh my goodness, who is this Will Saxton that I want to be when I grow up and when I'm older? Because this is all so good. So any words for them who are just listening right now and thinking, I want to play where my feet are, like Will does. I want to play where my feet are. I want to forever change in every single aspect of my life. Any last words of wisdom for them?
No, I just think, I think we've talked about it so much, but like playing where your feet are, it sounds like, okay, but like, I feel like it's one phrase, but it can be moved into so many different ways of looking at it and analyzing it. I think that's why you did such a good job of like, it's not cliche. It's not, oh, like, someone, it was traditional. This was something that you put a lot of thought in, and it's like, wow, like that is awesome. Like that makes sense. So props to you for putting the time in and putting so much effort into obviously making this happen and creating this, because I know that this is going to be so big one day and it's going to impact so many lives. But just playing where your feet are, when you just really think about that and look at that, it almost just makes me want to like start doing like shuffle steps. It just makes me want to start moving my feet really fast, because
Will's over here doing jumping jacks behind the camera. You guys just can't tell.
It just makes you want to get going. And just like you said, like being still where your feet are you're not going to get anywhere. Playing where your feet are, you're going to go, you're going to take one step, the next step, 3 steps, 4 steps, and little before you know it, you're 1 month down the road and you're 30 steps ahead and you're going and you're going and you're going. So I just think playing where your feet are, obviously everyone has long-term goals, everyone has short-term goals, but when you look at those long-term goals, you're only going to get there if you play with your feet are. And that's where I feel like that's where long-term goals are awesome. 4, 5, 10 years down the road, it's awesome to look forward towards, but you have to take it day by day and play where your feet are each and every day, because that buildup of something is going to be something that's really great.
So good. This is your podcast now. Oh, yeah. I'm gonna hand it off to you because that was so good. And I think that's like the perfect spot to wrap up for us. Will, thank you again for coming on to the PWYFA Play Where Your Feet Are podcast. I know that this conversation certainly impacted me, and I am certain that it impacted every single listener that we have. So again, thank you just for opening up, for sharing your story, for sharing your wisdom, sharing your advice, sharing your heart with us today. I am so inspired, and I cannot wait to listen to this over and over and over again while I edit and when it's posted and everything, because I truly know it will impact and change a lot of people. So thank you for hopping on the podcast today. No,
thank you. And just proud of what you're doing. This is awesome. This is really great. You're doing some amazing things, obviously, in your busy schedule, coaching, grad school, podcasts, trips on the weekends. You deserve a weekend off.
Oh no, I'll rest when I'm dead. Yeah, no time for that. My goodness, I gotta play where my feet are.
Exactly.
No, but seriously.
But seriously, you're crushing it. I'm really, really proud of you, and it's been awesome that we've been able to grow close in these last gosh, what has it been, 4 years now? Yeah, my goodness. Wow. Going on 5. That's wild. But seriously, Will, thank you so much again. And this podcast might be ending, but you guys can keep up with Will and all the incredible things that he is doing. So Will, how best can followers just continue to listen and follow you? Just Instagram, Will Saxton 13. Definitely just the easiest. Obviously on Twitter as Saxton William. And those are pretty much the 2 accounts I use the most. I'm not huge in the Facebook anymore. Honestly, I still get some friend requests, but like I haven't been able to log back in yet. So it's like MySpace anyone? Question mark? No, I love it. And of course, if you're in the Orlando area or in Florida or want to travel across the country, Will does play baseball on the UCF baseball team. So when does your schedule get announced? When can we start seeing you play? Tell us where we can watch you. We have a temporary schedule right now, so I'll be sure to get it posted out when we get it out and everything. But yeah, we're pretty much everywhere. We're at Florida State, we're at Stetson, we're at Miami this year. Play Ole Miss, play all over the place. So yeah, we'll definitely get this schedule. 56 games, so a lot of games. So so you people have 56 chances to watch Will play this year. So you better get on it. No, I love it. Again, thank you, Will, so much for joining the podcast. This was an absolute blast. And guys, follow Will, see all the great things he's doing, cheer him on during baseball season. And while he's doing everything that he's doing right now with FCA and beyond, school, whatever it may be, you definitely want to be in his corner just cheering him on, because he really is a great human being. And I'm honored to know him and blessed to know him. So Will, thank you again. And who knows, we might have you on again sometime. All right. Sounds good. Thanks so much. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the PWYFA Play Where Your Feet Are podcast. All mentioned links, Instagrams, handles, and all that fun stuff is linked below in the description, so you can make sure you're not only following our guests, but also all things Play Where Your Feet Are. We don't want you to miss a thing, whether it is merch updates, podcast updates, book content, or more. Make sure you're following along on social media platforms to get every little thing. Now, you guys are also watching these podcast episodes, but just a simple reminder that you can find the Play Where Your Feet Are podcast on all listening platforms as well. Wherever you can listen to a podcast, you're going to find us, whether that's Spotify, Apple, Google, or more. Thanks so much again for tuning in to the PWYFA podcast. Till next time, be blessed and play where your feet are.